So we're only 5 games into the season, and it's already been a roller coaster season. I mean, you start off with being excited about the season opener, and then of course you lose that one, so you go down. The Jaguars bring us right back up after a couple of big wins over the Colts and Chargers. So we're really, really high on the Jags. And then you come off of a loss to the Eagles and the most embarrassing loss on the season to the Texans. And we are at a pretty low point right now. We're not at rock bottom, but we're at a pretty low point right now because the Jaguars drop a game to a division opponent who the Jaguars are better than. I mean, we have a better roster than them. And most importantly, the quarterback is bringing up concerns from the fan base. And I always say this, there's two things that are going to split a fan base and get a fan base really frustrated and just kind of make a fan base go mad, and that is losing. And the other one is quarterback controversy. And right now there are a lot of people talking about Trevor Lawrence. And in this video, I'm going to lay it all out there, man. I'm going to talk, just about the situation with the Jaguars, what we've seen, and just hold off on any kind of opinion or anything until really the end of it, because I want to kind of discuss it all. And at the very end, I'll kind of give you my synopsis about what really I think the future is, and really just my whole opinion around the situation. So first of all, Trevor Lawrence this year, he has a 62.4% completion percentage, 1,232 yards, 8 touchdowns versus 4 interceptions. So those numbers are, I guess they're all right. I mean, your turnover, or your touchdown to turnover differential is, or touchdown to interception ratio, I should say, is better than last year. Completion percentage has gone up. And look, he's 2-3. The 2 wins that Trevor Lawrence has led have been great wins. I mean, just dominating fashion, and he's played great. The 3 losses that he's had were losses that, look, I understand that there's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe wide receivers aren't catching passes. Maybe the defense isn't clutch at the right times. But at the end of the day, you can turn those 3 losses into wins very, very easily if number 16 plays better. That's the truth of the matter. There was at least a play or two in each game where if that turns around, maybe they probably win the game. I mean, you saw the he missed ETN in the first game on an easy touchdown pass. Against Philadelphia, had a really bad play in the turnover, or in the red zone where he turned it over. He had 4 fumbles, just really bad stuff. And then this last game, threw a really bad interception in the end zone when, look, he could have ran for a first down, could have just, untimely turnovers. And just overall, besides that, just, being able to go out there and make all the plays and make the easy throws, just, it's not good enough. I mean, it hasn't been good enough. And clearly it's showing in the win column where, if you're a quarterback, I tell you guys all the time, like, a team needs an elite quarterback. If a team has an elite quarterback, you're going to win games. I mean, flat out. The quarterback has the ball in his hands every single play. He has a lot of control over the game, and that's just the fact of the matter. So some of the things that he has been doing well, I mean, he has been reading the field very well. That's just, whether it's staring down receivers or, throwing downfield when it should be, the short play, like, the check down guy is there, just being able to, scan the field and do all that kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, just untimely turnovers. I mean, there's never really a good time for a turnover, but, the turnovers have just been get bad. It hasn't been like, these things where defensive backs are making incredible plays on the ball and, maybe it's a 50-50 ball to the receiver and the receiver loses it. No, it's mostly been reading the field bad and throwing the ball to places where you shouldn't be throwing the ball. And that's been a problem. And also just inaccuracies. I mean, we get these third downs and he doesn't throw it there. And it's crazy because, like, a lot of times you see in the first quarter, it's like, okay, is Trevor hitting his passes or is he not hitting his passes? A lot of times, like, if Trevor starts off and he's not hitting his guys in the first quarter, then it kind of bleeds into the rest of the game where Trevor Lawrence is going to have a bad game. And then sometimes he starts out these games and he's just on fire, like completion, completion, completion. And you look and he's like 9 of 10 for passing. And then it just continues all throughout the game. So it's really how he starts is how he finishes. And he hasn't really been able to kind of overcome that. Now, I think some of the most concerning things, and these are concerning things because I've never really seen him do it yet. And one of them is just hitting the deep ball. Like I don't think we've seen it yet where we've just hit a receiver, you hit him in stride, running down the field, he catches it and he runs in for a touchdown. He's had some deep balls where, where a guy's been able to catch it, but it's not many like yards after catch. It's just, kind of being able to run under it and beating the defender. We haven't just seen him. Every time he drops back and throws it deep, most of the time it's overthrown or it's incomplete. One of the two. And another thing is that, look, he's failed to have a comeback, like 3 minutes left, drive the field, get a field goal, get a touchdown, do that. He's embarrassing in those games. I mean, in these moments, he can't even get past the 50. You know what I mean? It's been embarrassing to watch. And, when you look at it, he has 5 total wins as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And only 2 of those wins have been close wins, have been like one score wins. One of those came against the Bills where he literally didn't score a touchdown. It was 9-6. The other game was the Miami Dolphins game in London. Outside of that, your 3 victories that Trevor Lawrence has are all in blowout fashion. So we haven't, it's easy, once you're up, 31 to 10 to be able to, be in a rhythm, make the throws, all that stuff. But what's difficult is like, it's fourth quarter, you're down 3 points, not even with 3 minutes, say 10 minutes left, just get a scoring drive. That's where he needs to be tested. We haven't seen that yet. And I think that's probably the most concerning thing. Now, I know a lot of people they say this thing where Trevor doesn't have that dog in him. It's hard to see that yet because look, Trevor Lawrence, and I'll get into this in my next little segment here, but the thing is, Trevor Lawrence doesn't own the offense yet. A lot of times, people compare him. Oh, he's not like a Brady. He's not like a Peyton Manning. He's not like an Aaron Rodgers. Well, those guys are already pretty much offensive coordinators of their own team. They own the playbook. They know exactly what's going on. They know everything like the back of their hand. They know defense like the back of their hand. Unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence isn't there yet. He's just not there yet. And I think, down the line, we're going to really be able to figure that out. Now, one thing I want to do is that I want to compare Trevor Lawrence to some of the other guys, some of the other young, great quarterbacks in the NFL. When you look at Trevor Lawrence, he had 3 years of collegiate football, and he also just turned 23 years old last week. Compared to some of the other guys, Mahomes, he's a guy that sat his whole entire rookie year, and by the time he was starter, his second year, he was also 23 years old. So he was there. He was sitting behind Alex Smith. He was in the Andy Reid system. So I would say he was probably set up in a good situation to succeed. Not only that, he had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all this stuff. He was in a pretty good situation, but same exact age as Trevor Lawrence. Lamar Jackson, he's a guy that dealt with a lot of inaccuracies his rookie year. A lot of people were questioning him, but then his second year, he actually came out and had an MVP season. He was actually really good. Josh Allen is a guy that was really, really bad his first 2 seasons. He was really bad, but what did the Bills organization do? They stuck with him. The fan base stuck with him. They stayed behind him. And by his 3rd year, he was an MVP candidate. Finally, he was able to, hit all the passes that he needed to hit. And that 3rd year, he was 24 years old. So it wasn't until he was 24 years old where he started really turning out to be great. Another guy, Joe Burrow. In his second season, he was 25 by the time he hit the playoffs. He had played in college a lot, from Ohio State to LSU, and then he was the number 1 overall pick. So he's a guy that, he had 2.5 years on Trevor Lawrence by the time his second year was here. And finally, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts, this is his 3rd season. First 2 seasons, not all that great, but 3rd season, he's turning it around. He's looking like a pretty good quarterback right now. He's the guy that's 24 years old. Now, I bring this all up because I do think age is important because look, I mean, these guys are young, and a lot of times you talk about people strictly as rookies or second year players, but sometimes some guys are just older than some people. Some people mature a little bit different than some people. But the thing that, and my thing is like people can have their own opinions about Trevor Lawrence and about how he's doing and about can he be the guy. But the thing that is annoying is like people say, oh, well, the difference between, and people are going to say it right. People are commenting as I say this, and I'm going to call them out after. But they say, yeah, but these guys weren't generational. Trevor Lawrence is generational, so he should have already arrived. Look, Trevor Lawrence wasn't the guy that called himself generational. It was all the scouts. It was all the people. And what does generational mean? I know a lot of people have been discussing this. What exactly does the term generational mean? I think generational means that, look, he has a bunch of traits that you only get once in a generation with some guys. When it comes to being 6'5", when it comes to just the arm strength, when it comes to maybe mechanically, when it comes to, being able to run the ball with his feet. And maybe people thought that he was a little more NFL ready than he actually was. So all these different things, people say, oh, he's generational and he's not doing good. Next, move on. Not so fast. Okay, maybe he's this generational label, but he still needs a time to develop. Let's be real. It's his, and I'm not the guy that says this is basically his rookie year. He had Urban Meyer last year. I'm not going that far, but we do all know the Urban Meyer fiasco from last year and how bad that probably was for his development. But I do feel confident that the right guys are in place. I trust Doug Peterson. I like that he is there, and just the whole entire staff around him, from Mike McCoy to Press Taylor. I think he has a super solid crew around him. So the big question is like, will Trevor Lawrence be the guy, or is he a bust? And my thing is that, look, he's going to get his opportunity. I mean, I said in, a couple of videos ago, I forget which video, but I said that, look, he's going to be able to get at least 3 years to prove it. And people were saying, well, if he keeps playing this bad, I don't think so. Look, I think even if he keeps throwing out clunkers like these last two games, he's going to have some good games. He will. He's not going to play every game like the Texans game. He'll have his good games, but, I'm confident of that. But, he's going to get at least 3 years. And next year, they're going to almost treat it like Tua's third year, where I think next year the Jaguars do everything they can to bring in like the playmakers for him. They're going to, what this offense is missing right now. And I think when you look at this overall team, what this overall team is missing right now, the biggest need is the true alpha wide receiver. I feel like at wide receiver, we have a bunch of compliments. I think they address that next year. Another big thing is like get the premier tight end. We've never had a premier tight end in his franchise's history. That's one thing that Peterson had. He had Zach Ertz. You look at the Eagles, they go from Zach Ertz to Goddard. They're a team that always has tight ends. The Jaguars don't. And, really a tight end when it comes to, like, when I look at Trevor, his strength is the intermediate passes. And, right now those intermediate passes are going to like Evan Ingram, Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk at times. Once you get a big body tight end in there to be able to do that, I think it'll help take our offense to another level. So, next year, I do think that the Jaguars will do everything they can to really make sure that Trevor Lawrence is there and ready and has the weapons, because I think our defense is pretty much set. I think we can maybe use another cornerback, strengthen the interior of the defensive line. But outside of that, I think we put a lot of work into the defense. I think the offense just has some catching up to do. And the thing is, like, people will ask, like, how do you fix him? How do you fix Trevor Lawrence? Like, how would I fix Trevor Lawrence? And the answer is that I don't know. I don't know. And luckily, there are people that get paid millions of dollars to figure this out. What is it that Trevor Lawrence takes? I know a lot of people are saying, like, I want to see, Doug Peterson in a locker room yelling at these players, and, they need Trevor Lawrence. We need to bring a guy in for competition for Trevor Lawrence. And look, like, there's a bunch of hot takes about it, but, all these guys get coached differently. I don't think that Doug Peterson needs to sit there and yell at Trevor Lawrence, and getting yelled at by Doug Peterson is going to make him take the next level, because he understands that, look, these games are on him. So I mean, I would definitely try to do more on the offense to be able to like just lean on what the team is doing well. Travis Etienne is out there running the ball for 7.1 yards a pop. Try to get the ball in his hands more, whether it be running the ball or just, short passes to him. Just lean on what the offense is doing well instead of just trying to, make the offense run what you want to run. Now, me personally, with all that being said, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine. Like, I really do. I have a lot of faith in this guy. I have a lot of beliefs in this guy. I think that he has the mental fortitude to be able to do it. I think really once he gets a good grasp of this offense and really makes this offense his and just understands, how to utilize the skill players around him. Once Doug Peterson gets to understand Trevor Lawrence a lot more, I do think it's going to be all right. And I think he's going to be a great quarterback. Like, I really do. I understand there's big concerns, and the concerns are there. I mean, and you have all the right to feel however you want to feel about him. I'm not going to sit here and, tell you how your opinion. I'm not going to sit here and dictate your opinion about Trevor Lawrence. So what I ask you to do is that let me have my opinion about him. Okay. I'm not making excuses for him by any means. His play the last couple of games has been bad, but I mean, just 2 weeks ago, he was AFC Offensive Player of the Week. He has the potential. It's just, let's close out these close games. And look, the Jaguars are still young in their development. We still need to, the phrase, learn how to win games. I mean, it's a real thing. And yeah, we just need to keep getting better. Still some, it feels like manageable games. And if we're being real, there's not a lot of even good teams in the AFC. I saw a power ranking come out that literally the only two AFC teams in the top 10 were the Chiefs and the Ravens. I mean, it's rough. And a lot of teams are going through their struggles. Every team's going to go through their ups and downs. Hopefully this is as far down as we're going to go. And next week we can get a get-right game against the Colts. And, it just stinks right now because now we're chasing 500, and we could have been ahead of 500, but whatever. We're still so early in the season, so a lot more football to be played. But let me know what you guys think about Trevor Lawrence. Am I being too light on him? Do I need to go ahead and start doing Bryce Young film reviews? I mean, that's not coming. Let's be real. And it is what it is right now. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. This is a long video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like for me on your way out. Go Jets.
Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars. Too much for your crew to handle. Keep it lit. And this is the #1 YouTube channel by UCF Jaguar. Yeah, we about to blast off. If you've been a fan, then this is the dopest platform. Yeah, never hold back. Gotta represent for the teal and black.